Hello and welcome to this the Books Crypto Club weekly catch-up on Zoom. It is Sunday the 26th of June 2022 and today we're going to be talking about whatever the audience wants to talk about. We hold these sessions every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. UK BST and they're open to everybody, novice and expert alike, and we talk about whatever people want to talk about. Look at sometimes the cryptocurrency scene, there's lots of things happening in it. There's things around DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, there's token generating events, and there's general news going on as well, which can sometimes affect the crypto space. So we end up talking about whatever anyone wants to talk about. So let's see who's going to come and join us today. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Gary.
Hey, how are you today?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not so bad. I've got no idea as to who's going to show up today or how many we're going to get or anything. We never really know with these sessions, so we'll see what comes along. This is your first time coming on to one of these sessions then?
Yeah, first time.
Right.
Not really sure what I'm in store for, but I'll leave myself in your capable hands.
Not a problem, that's great. Well, we get a variety of people who join us each week, and sometimes we end up with loads of people on. Sometimes it can actually end up with just a couple of people, and we just end up having a chat. And that's why I always record these sessions. We stick them up on YouTube, because I actually find that we always end up discussing useful stuff, particularly with novices, because novices ask some really basic questions that everyone goes, that's a really good question, that.
Yeah.
So what kind of level are you at then?
I'm not an absolute novice, but I'm not advanced either.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't really go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole until about a couple of months ago. Although I'd bought some altcoins last year, I didn't really go down, what they say, going down the rabbit hole, so to speak.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess that's where I'm at.
Okay, cool, great. Well, welcome aboard, and let's see where we go on this journey of discovery today. I see we've got Mike joined as well.
Yeah, hello,
hey,
my name's Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Yeah, I'm trying to get into the cryptocurrency thing, and I don't know where to start, so.
Okay, and what have you learned so far, Mike?
Probably like all the apps and I don't know really. I'm just trying to learn, and I saw this on Google, so.
Brilliant. Okay, you saw it on Google.
Yeah, I searched up like cryptocurrency Zoom meetings.
Okay, right. I'll see how we go on. Just need to be careful that we sometimes get people who join these sessions who are just here to interrupt. So we'll just have to watch out for anyone like that. So thanks for joining us.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Mike. So cool. So for both of you then, really, it sounds like you may both be fairly early on the journey of discovery. But I don't really know. Do either of you have any particular questions to begin with?
No, I don't know about Michael there.
Yeah, I don't think I have any specific questions. But one thing that does come up for me is like I don't have an outlet to talk about cryptocurrency because none of my family are involved and my friends just think it's weird. So
okay, well you've got an outlet now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things. I originally set this group up a few years ago, and we used to physically meet in a coffee shop. And it was simply because I felt that I wanted other people to talk to, because there was so much to learn, and you didn't know, were you doing things right, were you doing things wrong, were you doing things the easy way, and that's why I actually created the group originally, just to find other like-minded people, and we kind of built it from there. So that's great. So this is the kind of thing, that's why we transitioned this to virtual with COVID kind of getting in the way and haven't gone back to the physical world, because I actually find it's far better and far more fun with people doing this online, because it means we can reach a wider audience. I mean, this is technically called the Books Crypto Club because we set it up in Buckinghamshire. But these days, everyone thinks books means as in loads of dollars type thing. So it's kind of open on that. We've got lots more people joining us today. I'm just going to let everybody in. Bear with me a mo. I see we've got, is it Dan as well? Dan joined us.
Hi guys, just learning to unmute myself. Thank you for organising. It's my first time here, and very excited to meet you guys. Next time I will be sure to join on a laptop with a camera, but exciting to meet you guys today.
That's not a problem at all, Dan. Thanks for joining us. Well, we've got a number of people who are on today who are all their first time coming onto this session, and that's fantastic. So some weeks we get people who are novices. Sometimes we get some experts. Sometimes we get Alina, who's joined us. Hey, Alina. And she's the rock star of asking brilliant novice questions. So she's one of the regulars who comes along, but she always asks really interesting questions. And the thing I love is that she asks the ones that you don't always think about once you've been in this space for a while. So it's really, really good. So I'll open it up straight away then. Has anyone got any immediate questions or thoughts or anything that they'd like to ask about? So I don't really know what level most people are at. I know a couple were saying before they're kind of like maybe novice to intermediate, but I'll open it up there. What would people like to talk about?
I think it'd be great to know how people have reacted just sort of to the last couple of weeks, right? I mean, 3-6 months ago, it was, I think the mood was very different. I think there are some interesting projects where the utility attached to NFTs has either, is in the pipeline or has yet to be sort of realized. And there's a lot of projects where there is no, and never really was likely to be in utility. And I think, when markets move rapidly against you, I think the utility becomes very important. And the pace at which you achieve and sort of, validate that utility becomes very important. That's a lot of words, but there's no insight coming from me. I throw that out there and see what people think.
Well, we'll go for it. What do other people think? I'm going to give my voice a rest for a change and hear what others think for a minute. What's going on in the market?
Yeah, I guess I'll chime in. So I was really into altcoins, but since most things started to crash, I guess I've become somewhat of a Bitcoin maxi. I've been frightened away from the altcoins for now anyway. So yeah, I guess my attitude towards investing has changed.
Okay. Quan, you've been on before, haven't you? And you've got quite a deep experience of this kind of thing, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Yes, not extensive, but I've been in the market for 2.5 years, more or less. In terms of the market, when I saw it go down to 17.5, I was okay. Wow, I didn't expect it to go that low, but I was like, it can go even lower. In fact, so I was quite scared for the market because I know a lot of people that went in are not too experienced, and it was just about, it's trendy. A lot of people are going in on the bubble kind of thing. Yep. So in terms of that, it could also be manipulation, and it probably is, just letting the market heal itself for a bit and then push it back down to buy even more. We already know that a lot of big players went in when it went down. So it could be a bullish sign, but still could be, debating on trying to get even more accumulation or not. So I think it's just going to stay around this price for quite some time before it actually reaches up to, what it was before. But definitely believe in crypto, at the blockchain. It has a future. I mean, if your guys are here, you probably are in the same spot as me. So it should go back up, at least in price wise. And then the adoption itself right now, it's minimal compared to what it can be. The UK now is regulating it even more, which is something good in some aspects, giving a lot of great things to the market. And, it can only go up from now a tiny bit.
I think I'd support a lot of things you're saying there. That I think if you take a look at Bitcoin's price at the moment, we'll take a look at the charts in a minute. it's kind of settled and stabilized itself a little bit over the last few days, which is great, given there were about 3 major events went on in the crypto world, which kind of rocked it a bit. The first was Luna and the stable coin, which was no longer stable. Then we had, there was another event, Celcius. So Celcius, major investment company, major problems with that as to whether they were capitalized properly. And then there was Three Arrows, which is another major crypto holder. All of these have had a bit, likely to have had an impact on crypto of late. So it's good to see it's kind of stabilized. But I think Juan nails it, that I agree. I get involved in a lot of stuff around government and regulation and all this kind of stuff. And you can just see that there is regulation on the way. Government people, regulators getting more and more nervous that people are going to lose money. And so there will be regulation. What I'm hoping is we'll end up with appropriate regulation, which actually is sufficient to provide protection for consumers, and then makes it more attractive for the big investors to come in. So the hedge funds, the asset managers and that kind of thing. Mike, I see you've got a question, go for it.
Why is there so many logos in the background? It's like a bit confusing.
Why there are so many whats?
Logos. It's like
these logos.
Yeah.
So these are all different cryptocurrency logos.
Oh, there's a lot.
Yeah, and there's thousands and thousands of them now. So we've got Bitcoin up here. I can't even make out the rest of the ones because they're all small screens. But there are thousands of cryptocurrencies. And so that's just a few of them. And in fact, some of them have died off and gone away now as well. There's like many other things that they go through a trend and they're popular for a while and then they disappear. Does that answer your question okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Right. So any other thoughts? Ali, welcome aboard.
Hi, thank you very much. This is the first time for me to be with you in these meetings. I've been trading on Bitcoin for more than a year, actually. But I never kept them for like more than 2 or 3 days. So I buy and sell at the same day.
Okay.
So the period where I used to sell and buy was when the price was almost $50,000, which is very high. Mm-hmm. So I expected this price to drop at any time. So I wasn't brave enough to keep them with me. So just I buy, and if the price just goes up a little bit, I sell them. And that with this way, you could make little money every day, which was fine actually. Yeah. So now we see the price is very cheap comparing with what it used to be like 6 months ago. But we cannot make a decision to go ahead and buy because the price might drop more and the price might go down more and more. So this is why I'm here actually. I want to see if I can get some information or anything like that about the expectations or predictions about the prices from expert people.
So my experience, I've been in the crypto space since about 2016. So about 6 years looking at this kind of thing. And it really comes back to the whole thing that one of 3 things is going to happen. The price is either going to go up, down or sideways. We just don't know which. And so I'm speaking to some people who are saying, well, Bitcoin, for example, if we stick with that, is going to drop down to, they're talking about down to 11,000 or even $8,000 right now. So that's certainly a potential. But then equally, if we look at what it's doing at the moment, and in fact, if I just pull up a quick screen so we can share on it, we can see that it dropped out. It was about $17,500 last week, and it's kind of not dropped below that. So either this is what's known as a dead cat bounce, where it looks like it's fallen as far as it's going to go and it starts going up again and then it's going to crash, or we're now at the point where it's beginning a reversal and maybe this is the next upward trend. the reality is nobody knows. I know there are some people who monitor the markets really closely. They look at the volumes, they look at the trades, and they've got a lot more detail and expertise than me. But ultimately, it's a crystal ball, this kind of stuff. So
if it's at all helpful, I've got one or two perspectives on this. I mean, you know, I've got friends that run sort of, you know, crypto hedge funds where they're sort of taking client assets on behalf of sovereign wealth funds, that kind of thing, and trying to use algorithms to turn that into a profit. And you know, I think the technical analysis piece was quite a lot more relevant several years ago, right? When this was a much more niche part of, you know, financial markets. I use that term very loosely. Right now, the correlation between crypto as an asset class and traditional financial markets, equities especially, is pretty strong, right? And there have been several successive horrible pieces of economic news coming from all different directions. Having, you know, Russia invading Ukraine doesn't help with that situation at all either. And, you know, I think there is this sort of ongoing concern about how damaged China's economy really is during and after COVID. And I think it doesn't take, you know, multiples in equity markets are actually not that far from historical averages, right? And given you know, the whole world is starting to accept we're jumping into a huge recession, you know, there's every chance that every asset class is about to fall very, very, very much further. Bitcoin is, you know, 5 years ago, it would have been very detached. It wouldn't have been very high correlation. People were even thinking maybe it's a hedge against, you know, you know, it's sort of, there's a negative correlation between it and other asset classes. Right now, I think no one doubts they're very highly correlated, and a risk off trade in financial markets is a risk off trade in crypto. So, you know, I would expect the future for crypto, you know, widely traded coins to be very linked to financial markets. But when you're talking about NFTs and you're talking about utility tokens that really have demonstrable utility, and they're actually playing a role in an ecosystem beyond just being speculated on, I think that's where there can be a bit of a divergence in performance. Just my piece there.
I think that's valid, and it's interesting as well. There's a concept that people in the financial services sector will know, a thing called the Sharpe ratio, and the Sharpe ratio looks at things like volatility and risk and this kind of thing. And in effect, by having uncorrelated assets, as you say, by having uncorrelated assets, so things like, you know, property, gold, shares, crypto, if you have a lower level of correlation between them, i.e. something that doesn't behave like the rest, that improves the Sharpe ratio. And up until certainly a year or so ago, just having a small holding, if you were a hedge fund or an asset manager or whatever, and you had some investments in shares, some in precious metals, some in oil, whatever, even a small amount of exposure to crypto, because it behaved so differently, it did some really nice, powerful things on the Sharpe ratio. But now, as you're saying, crypto is beginning to correlate with the rest of the markets and that, which is kind of weird. So we'll see where that goes. I just, I was going to welcome Ryan, who's just come and gone. So I think, as you say, that's a valid thing, that the whole thing of correlation, volatility, and this is where, you know, Ali's probably got the advantage in what he's doing, because ultimately, as Ali said, because he's entering and exiting trades within a day, it doesn't actually matter if overall crypto is going up or down. All that matters is changing. Is that right, Ali? Is that how you're making your money?
Yes, this is right. So because during the day, the price goes up and goes down, and there is a difference. You could make benefits from this difference. So it's quite safe way to make money. It will not be that much money. It depends on how much do you invest. But yeah, for me, it's safe, much safer.
And that's the interesting thing. We were talking the other week, we had someone on who was talking about different types of investors or investments. And I still struggle with talking about cryptos and investments, because ultimately you're buying crypto. You're not truly investing in a company or anything. But there are those who are buying in the hope that something's going to increase in value over time. There are those who are buying for a short-term opportunity and so on. And I think there's a range of different options on that, really. I don't know if anyone else got any other thoughts they'd like to share on the market and where it is at the moment. Alina?
I'm listening attentively at the moment.
I thought you'd come off mute just then, actually. I thought you were about to say something in particular.
No,
Okay,
this is
right.
just in case I have a question.
Okay, it's all right. Michael saved the day and he's put his hand up very courteously.
I just wanted to ask Ali what trading platform he's using.
Yes, the platform is Local Bitcoin. I don't know if you have heard of it.
I've not heard of that, but I'll look into it.
Okay, it is called Local Bitcoin, and you can buy and sell from the local people in your country. Okay, so if you want to try to buy or sell from another country, your location will appear from your IP address. So other people will know that you are not local, you are not from their country. So no one will deal with you. So because they don't trust you, of course, if you are in another country. Because they need to transfer the money to your bank account before you release the Bitcoin to them. Yeah. So what if you transfer the money to someone in another country and they don't release the Bitcoin to your wallet? So what would you do? You can't go to the police, you can't go anywhere. So the idea of this platform is you buy and sell to people in your country. In case something wrong happens, you can go to the police and tell them about this guy who you transferred the money to them. Okay?
That sounds profoundly risky, Ali.
Yes, it is quite risky, but the price the prices in this platform is much better than the other platforms. You could buy cheaper and sell like with little higher price. So it's very good for trading. So this platform is very good for trading if you want to buy and sell in the same time. And
Sorry, Ali, I was going to say, I thought the whole idea of Local Bitcoin was that it's kind of like a dating agency in a way, that it actually physically connects you with people. So you find out who are local to you, or you'll travel and you'll meet up in a coffee shop and you'll physically meet, which was why I thought it was called Local Bitcoin originally. And so the idea was that if you're sitting next to each other, then you can do the peer-to-peer transfer and you can see it go through, which is what reduces the risk.
Yeah, some members they do this. Some members they do this. I came across some members when I tried to buy Bitcoin from them. They said to me, "Okay, tell us your address and we will come to you. Then you give us the money and we release the Bitcoin at the same time."
Okay.
But this is not the case for all of them. There are just very, very little people, minority who do this.
I have a question.
Go for it, Mike.
What if they use a VPN, like change location?
To be honest, I tried to use the VPN just to try, but it didn't work. I think in the platform they have a mechanism to know if you are using VPN or not. So they still able to detect your place.
Oh, okay.
And it's a really good question, actually, Mike. And just for those who maybe don't know what a VPN is, because we always use these terms, assuming everyone knows what all this stuff is. A VPN is a virtual private network, which some people will use to actually hide the computer's address. So each computer has an IP address, so that's Internet Protocol address, and it's a way of associating a computer. Usually it's geographic, so you can work out which country the computer is in. And what people will use a VPN for is partly because it's a way of hiding where they are, because they may not want people to know which country they are in. So a lot of people who do it for like website subscription services and that kind of thing, where certain services may be blocked in certain countries. So a lot of people use VPNs now for privacy and security. Well, yeah, good question, Mike. It's a fair thing, because I thought Local Bitcoins use the IP address to work out where you were. And as you say, if you can actually get a VPN, and you can tell it which country you want to appear to be in, which a lot of people do. So if you want to watch some, American TV programs that are limited in some way, and you actually set up a VPN address with a US.
Zoom will now begin updating. All open Zoom sessions will automatically shut down.
Well, that didn't sound good. we'll see anyway. Okay, so Mike, hopefully that answers that. Oh. Okay, Mike's having a bit of fun there. Do that. Sorry, back to the main thing. So, any other thoughts or questions at the moment?
I think one thing that it'll be great to hear from people. Who's invested in NFTs and for what reason?
Go on, I'll open it up and then I'll give you my view on it. Anyone here got any NFTs? Any Bay Area Yacht Club monkeys? No? So no one wants to take a bit on. So I actually own some NFTs, 2 of which I minted myself, and one of which was donated to me by a crypto artist, because I run a whole range of crypto type things, including this group and various WhatsApp groups. And I run a Telegram channel on NFTs, and it's an NFT community. It's only about a couple of hundred members in size, but one of the people in there is a crypto artist, and I took part in something that she did a while ago, and she said, as a thank you, here's an NFT. And it's absolutely gorgeous because I love her art anyway. So I've got that, but I've not bought NFTs as a form of investment. I am an advisor on NFTs. I've helped a number of companies look at how they can use NFTs in their organization. I helped a Russian fine art auction that was providing an NFT against physical artwork, which was interesting. And I'm also working on a project now, which is about properly securing NFTs. For anyone who's looking at buying NFTs, they have got to be the most riskiest, dodgiest platform that exists right now, because there's about 7 areas, from the blockchain layer to the NFT to the smart contract, where it could go wrong. And this is where I think there's going to be a load of failures soon with NFTs, where like platforms are going to fail or they're just going to go offline. And I think that's going to annoy a lot of people, and they're going to ask for something more robust. So that's my view on NFTs. But I think also we're only just at the beginning of exploring how they'll be used. So up till now, they've been around digital art, video, music. I think we're ultimately going to see NFTs being used as an alternative form of shareholding and as a financial instrument in its own right in some way. And Juan, you're nodding in agreement there. Do you support that?
Yes. For now, I've seen that NFTs have been just trading forms, just quick money ways of getting, at least capital growth. But I personally know some people that are working on certificates as NFTs, university certificates, to prove to your employers that you've actually done a degree. And obviously it will be issued by the university directly to your wallet, and you can show it to your employers and to prove that you really have a doctorate or have a bachelor or have whatever you've studied. So that is something that will come in the future, hopefully, as well as, I obviously believe in NFTs, but in the ways that it actually contributes to something, not just, those algorithm-based NFTs that they just create 2,000 of them and they sell for 20K each. That is not something that I would personally invest in. I would invest in something like Bored Apes, which you have utilities for it, not only because it's so popular, but you get into clubs, you get into events, you have the networking, yacht parties. If you're a businessman in that area, in the crypto sector, it's very advantageous to have one of them because it opens a lot of doors. Now, yes, it looks cool. Now they're very expensive. You can compare it to a Lamborghini or whatever, right? But it's not just a piece of art. It's a pass. It's a VIP club.
Yep.
At the end of the day, most of them are being used as that, you know, like an event. You go to an event, you buy an NFT instead of the actual ticket. That is basically the same thing as sending it to your email, but the actual event can prove that you are the actual owner. It's the same thing at the end of the day, because in the real world, outside of the cryptocurrencies, there's still measures that you can prove that someone is the owner. But it's just another fancy way to put that in and, you know, be trendy. And then you can trade it or whatever, but at the end of the day, there's not much use if you want it into a private club. But yeah, so that's my take on it. I think it will be something in the future, but just not yet. It needs to be turned around.
Yeah, I keep talking about how NFTs are going to have to mature to NFT 2.0, which is where it's actually a resilient, reliable platform to begin with. And then I think we're going to see continued growth. You're already seeing it with various brands, you know, whether it's Adidas, Nike, Louis Vuitton, or whatever. They're all getting into NFTs as you say, like loyalty programs, membership programs, VIP schemes. We're seeing it with, you know, DJs, bands. Was it Kings of Leon did an NFT? And again, it was the whole loyalty type thing. And I was doing some stuff a little while ago, which was a company based out in South Africa, who were doing mind-blowing stuff around having an NFT that gives you admission to a virtual rock concert where you can go into the VIP lounge at the live rock concert with a VR headset on and have the whole experience there. And you get the added bonus that you've got the VIP type thing. But then after the event, you've got the continued thing that a bit like how people used to collect. I used to collect T-shirts sometimes. If I went to a rock concert, I'd get the tour T-shirt. So they then subsequently launch add-ons and incremental things to this NFT, where if you've got this NFT, you can now buy a post-tour T-shirt. You can rewatch the events in VR and go and sit in a different place in the stadium and all this kind of thing. I just get involved in some things which just blow me away the more I hear about this stuff. So I think we're just at the beginning. And I think we've seen the first wave happening, and I think there's a lot of froth at the moment. I think there's going to be a lot of money lost pretty soon as well. I think things are going to fail. And then I think you're going to see some more mature type stuff. Some of the firms, I was working with a firm in the States whose name I can't say because the non-disclosure agreements had something about if you admit to working with us, we'll shoot you type thing. They are a very well-known major technology company who are looking at how to use NFTs to generate revenue from some of the physical assets that they store in cold storage. And some of the things they're talking about is like, wow, amazing stuff. Sorry, Dan, were you going to say something there?
Yes, I didn't mean to jump in, but yeah, I mean, there's a few projects like that. I know that, and I overheard this, so there wasn't an NDA signed, but I think the person that told me would probably sign an NDA. But I know that, for example, Sony, or let's say a console manufacturer, is looking at leveraging the PlayStation's on standby, somehow linking that that spare processing capacity to either a cryptocurrency or to NFTs, and basically incentivizing people to leverage, to make available their processing power when they're not using their PlayStations, right? For example. And I've come across, and I think the one thing that you mentioned there, Gary, is froth, right? And I think so. I'm a mentor at a particular blockchain sort of labs arm, and I'm actually also working myself, sort of as a side project, but as part of a team of 20 launching a what we hope will be one of the first sort of medieval themed MOBA metaverse games in Web3, right? With the mission very much of bringing Web2 users on an en masse journey from Web2 to Web3 in a very, very low friction way, right? So rather than, you know, here's an ape and, you know, you can go to some parties and then maybe some other stuff and it's 80 grand, you know, which is convincing enough for some people that where that money is not an object, but ultimately is never going to play a role in the real economy and won't contribute to, you know, to supporting the prices of cryptocurrencies, you know, the layer ones over time. We're trying to create the utility by saying, you know, what we think is very low hanging fruit. You're a gamer, right? You spend 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours, 1,000,000 hours of your life, you know, working on this game, right? Contributing your time and your skill, you know, and in return, at the moment, you just get a database entry on someone else's server, right? And if you lose your account, you're locked out. And, you know, if you decide to go and play another game, you know, all you've got is your stats on how much time you spent. What about if you could own that character, that progress, you know, those swords, those resources that you collect in game, even the sort of currency from, you know, how well you performed in a particular game. So that's what we're focusing is. Gamers feel to us like extremely low-hanging fruit, right? They already spending their time playing on these games, and we're saying take the game you're playing today in its current form that you already love, and enhance it in this particular way, right? Now, compared to saying, hey, this is a Van Gogh painting, it's $25 million. I'm going to make it into an NFT, and it's going to be $30 million. Like, there are a very small number of people in the world that don't think that's totally mental. Right. Whereas there are hundreds of millions of gamers in the world today that play the game right now. Right. And it's like, it's such low hanging fruit because every single one of them gets an incremental benefit instantaneously from owning an NFT character and playing the game rather than not owning their character and it being just on somebody else's server. So that, you know, and there aren't, as you said, froth, right? Going back to your point, I haven't seen many examples outside of gaming where NFTs actually need to have a serious role to play, right? I think the point you made, Juan, about university degrees, there needs to be some ambiguity about the source of truth, right? And the way I can see that being relevant is if there is some difficulty in communicating with the university and validating a degree. But otherwise, like academic institutions, like they're pretty slow moving beasts, right? And to convince Oxford University that, hey, now you need to give NFTs instead of, you know, a A2 piece of paper with all there's candle wax on it. It can happen, but like no one really gains apart from the NFT company.
I'm going to disagree there. So I know that certainly about 2 years ago, possibly 3, there was a consortia in the UK of, I think, 5 universities in the UK who were all looking at collaborating on putting degrees on a blockchain, okay? And the thing I love about NFTs is that NFTs allow you to use blockchain how it should have been used. So the whole concept of provenance, traceability, all this kind of stuff, and an NFT effectively puts a wrapper around a facility to do that far easier. And so I was doing some stuff in India a while back, which was looking at, again, at university degrees. Because at the moment, the process is, if I'm an employer and I'm looking at, you know, employing Ali, for example, I have to check what his CV says. I have to go back to the university. As you say, the university's slow moving. They're not necessarily going to tell me very, very quickly. And it's the university that holds all that information. If you can switch that so that the university becomes an accredited oracle that puts the data onto the blockchain via an NFT, then the university never needs to answer the question as to whether Ali's got that degree again. Ali now owns that NFT that proves that he's got an authentic degree from that university. So that switches, it's funny, you're talking about Web3, which my understanding is that that's moving towards a decentralized, user-centric world. Well, an NFT of a university degree where I own that NFT and I'm using it to validate stuff, as opposed to the university being the central authority still. I actually support that. So I think we're going to see a move towards that. Dan, I was going to ask you one more question before we move on from it, though, with you saying about transitioning from Web 2 to Web 3. So I keep hearing about Web 2, Web 3. Now Jack Dorsey's talking about Web 5, just to throw things in. What do you describe Web 3 as? What is it to someone who's just generally into tech?
Yeah, and look, I'm by no means an expert in this field, right? I've actually been involved in this project, and I did a tiny bit of ASIC mining back in like 2014. Wish I'd done more, but did not make a significant amount. But if I'd actually paid attention at the time and ignored my little energy price spreadsheet and thought it wasn't worth doing, we would have done okay. But what is Web3? I think Web3 is not a technical transition towards just throwing complexity at consumers for no reason, right? I think Web3 there is additional incremental value from decentralization and from ownership that isn't available in a world where you basically just communicate with somebody else's server and somebody else's database and have no, and there's no sort of decentralization, there's no validation. I think it enables things to exist indefinitely. It enables, truth to be sort of, unquestionable. It eliminates the possibility of hacks in that particular model where somebody takes control of a particular third party. It doesn't eliminate the possibility of hacks completely, but it enables you to own digital assets that otherwise would just have been, a property or an entry on a database somewhere before. So ownership and decentralization, I think, define, the transition from Web 2 to Web 3 in a gaming context, right? And I'm just not well versed enough in other contexts.
That's okay. And the gaming thing, it's really interesting. You're talking about the community there, because we tend to look only within the domains that we're familiar with, and there is a massive overlap between gaming and crypto. A lot of gamers are into crypto, that they're digital natives, that they play Roblox, then they've got Robux or Linden coins or whatever. But the other area that people forget about is geographic differences as well. So Vietnam, South Korea, those two countries in particular in the Far East are way ahead of us in gaming and with crypto adoption as well, funnily enough. And you were mentioning before about Sony and them beginning to use their devices that the spare capacity to do things. Well, I know Samsung, they've either launched or about to launch an NFT-enabled television set. And so it's effectively the TV will allow you to view your NFTs type thing. I'm not sure exactly how that works and how that's any different from just having a web page that points at these things. But it's the very fact that Samsung have explicitly said that they are going to be committing more efforts into NFTs in the metaverse. And I think it was the South Korean government which announced it was investing in NFTs in the metaverse. You can just see that there's some really interesting stuff going on, that we sometimes just think about our Western philosophy of what's happening. And then someone suddenly realizes, I mean, here's an interesting question. Is there anyone on the call now who hasn't somewhere in their house got a Samsung device? Now, whether it's a washing machine, a TV, or whatever, mobile phone, I was amazed at just how pervasive Samsung is in our domestic culture. So I think I've got a Samsung washing machine and a Samsung phone, this kind of thing. They're all over the place, and they are already thinking about, well, their next direction, because they've conquered the physical world, is the metaverse. And so that's a fascinating thing, because South Koreans love crypto. They're one of the leading adopters of cryptocurrencies as well. They're very savvy on that. It's a young nation. So yeah, interesting. Dan, just a quick one, just an opportunity if you want to take it, is if you want to give a shout out to the project, any of the projects you're working on, more than willing to do that. Or if you want to stay in stealth, that's okay.
Sure. Well, look, I mean, you know, it doesn't need a shout out on any Telegram channels or anything, but very happy to let you guys know. So we're launching a company called a game called Meta Lords with a Z. You're very welcome to go to metalords.com, and it's a little bit out of date at the website because we're very focused on the game. But you know, we're going to be launching this thing later this year. We may be doing some community testing in the not too distant future if anyone's interested in participating. I don't know if there's some gamers out there today, but it's super exciting, right? It's you know, we're going on. Oh, thank you, Juan. We're going on a journey into sort of uncharted waters together as a group. You know, everybody's learning a lot, and you know, luckily we've got some people. You know, we've got a sort of game studio team that's really, really talented, and I'm sort of the guy that could do Excel, and I'm not very creative, but you know, but you know, there's a really great team, and we're trying to bring people en masse from Web 2 to Web 3 to really enjoy that gaming experience in our metaverse, and hopefully, you know, by later this year, you'll be able to actually, you know, own an NFT. Which, you know, there are some out there on the market today. We just did a bit of a test batch in Q4. I've got a couple. And, you know, but you'll be able to own your NFT. You'll be able to go into our sort of battle arena, play against other players, and you'll have your NFT character in that arena with you, right? And you'll be earning game coins if you perform well. You can spend those game coins on potions and craft and upgrade your weapons and everything. You can sell your weapons as NFTs. And you know, it's an exciting project. so thank you, Gary.
I just pulled up the website. The graphics on it look awesome.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say awesome these days because I think that's off trend. Whatever the gamers describe it on, anyway. But that looks great. So thanks for sharing that. And that's the thing about these sessions. I'm always happy if anyone wants to promote something that they're doing, as long as it's not an investment scheme in some way, because the number of people I get approached still who say, oh yeah, I've got this great crypto investment scheme you make loads of money out of, and blah, blah, blah. That's frustrating. Dan, we'll watch with interest on metalords.com and see where we go on there.
I appreciate the shout out. Thank you.
Well, welcome that, no problem. Okay. Folks, we've got just over 10 minutes left. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to ask, or any other thoughts or anything right now?
Well,
here we go. It's the Alina spot.
Speak up for the first time today.
This is the Alina slot where she always asks some great stuff.
No, I'm not going to ask anything. So just to sum it up today, for people who don't know much about NFTs, am I understanding it right that the phenomenon of NFTs is moving away from being just a collection of profile pictures towards being practically applicable in our everyday life? For example, being it a degree certificate or an in-game item. And then if so, then what happens with the profile collection and NFT collections?
So I'll offer a view to begin with. I think you're right that we've gone through the NFT 1.0 space, which is I've got an NFT which represents a piece of digital art, music, video, or whatever. And I think we are going to see a transition to NFTs beginning to act as a means of provenance. So, you know, being able to track the history of things, being able to show ownership, be able to show transfer rights, that kind of thing, which then lends itself nicely to a bleed over into the physical world. So I think that where some blockchain projects up till now have used a blockchain to prove the provenance of an item, you know, whether it's a Louis Vuitton handbag or a diamond or whatever, I think that approach will use NFTs in future. I think we're not quite there yet, but we are getting there. And then I think we are going to see NFTs used both as representation of the physical world, and that's got some major challenges of how do you link this physical asset with a digital asset, and that's where the real problems where I was trying to do that in the art world and that. But I think that the next iteration is going to be NFTs representing ownership of things in the metaverse, which is where you've then got this bleed over of, hang on, we've got the physical world, the virtual world, and the metaverse in its widest description includes things like gaming and VR and that kind of thing. And so I think it was, as Dan was saying about, you owning your avatar, an NFT could be the mechanism to do that. So I don't know, what are other people's thinking?
I agree. I agree there. In terms of what will happen to these profile pictures, as you say, these JPEGs, these GIFs, or these videos that are not essentially anything else but that, right? Or a music video, or a string of music, or whatever that you can listen to on Spotify, YouTube, or any other platform. I feel like those are still going to be traded because of the hype that it has. A lot of people, young people, are wowed, are fascinated by the amount of money that you can get. And it's that amount of money that you can get that makes it worth something. And obviously it will die down when NFTs are not a trend anymore. And I expect that to be once all of these companies, as we've said, create these links between NFTs and physical world, which I already knew a few. I'm partners with this company that links up NFTs and silver. So they certified the silver, what percentage it is, how pure it is, etc., etc. And then it sends it to you for free when you buy the silver from their site. So you have already a certificate that is obviously pure, that is, 95% silver, blah, 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 that is 5 grams, etc., etc. You already have this in the physical world, but now you can have it in your app, or you can have it in your digital wallet, as well as IDs. I feel like you will have your ID inside of your wallet as an NFT, and you could, obviously this is very futuristic, but hopefully it will happen one day that I don't have to carry out my passport everywhere, and that if I lose it, I can't go out of my country, which happens a lot in terms of when people go to countries to visit, they steal your passport and then they make you work. If you have a phone, you don't have to do that anymore. You can just go with your phone, hey, this is me, and they can check that is you, and then that's it. Obviously, this raises up questions of security. If they get your seed phrase, if they hack into your wallet, they can steal your identity, etc., etc. So I don't know how doable everything is, but it's probably going to go well.
If you want to add on to that as well, Alina, I was on a TV program a few weeks ago where we're talking about how some UK shops, some UK retailers are now transitioning to facial recognition for payments. Mm-hmm. So as Kran says about, your passport and that, well, actually, if you can use AI to look at me and validate who I am, and then you can use that as a form of identity for authentication into my wallet, then you no longer need a passport for a start. You can travel around, just look at your image. And in fact, if you go through Heathrow sometimes, you've already got the scanners there. But we might end up with a stage where you can actually make payments and buy NFTs and that just by looking at something, which is pretty crazy in a way, but makes things much easier in another. So yeah, it's a good point on that. I think there's a lot more interesting stuff coming on. And I wrote a paper a while ago, which a non-published one, which said that I think we're going to go through about 5 different levels around NFTs of the way they'll get adopted and that kind of thing. I just wanted to, last few minutes, Ali, I know that for you, you're particularly interested in the trading side of things. are NFTs an area you take an interest in, or do you stick to the major cryptocurrencies?
Actually, I've never thought about investing in NFTs or just any other than the Bitcoin, to be honest.
Okay.
Even the other cryptocurrencies, because yeah, I feel the Bitcoin like McDonald's and the fast food. So it's the biggest one, the best one. So the one that you could trust if you compare it to others.
That's fair. That's good. And I think that's the thing as well. Some people like to buy into whatever the current trend is. So, you know, they went through they bought Bitcoin, then they bought Ethereum, then they bought Dash, then they bought crypto tokens instead of cryptocurrencies, then they bought NFTs and this kind of thing. And then there are some people who just say, you know what, I'll stick with Bitcoin and I can look at the prices and I get a feeling for it and I'll stick, and that's great. Absolutely. Michael, I just wanted to ask a similar thing with yourself, really. Are NFTs an area of interest, or do you just stay with crypto?
Just sticking with crypto. I mean, I'm aware of Bored Apes, and you know, I hear what's going on in the space, but I just don't know enough about it to be able to jump in. So I just stick with what I know.
And I think it's an example also that there is so much rapidly evolving and developing on this. I mean, I came into this space in, say, 2016, and my interest was around the blockchain and what that enabled and what distributed ledger technology enabled. And cryptocurrency is just an application on top of it. And I learned as much as I could about blockchain, and then all sorts of stuff started happening with crypto. And just as I got my head around that, you had this thing called ICOs, so initial coin offerings. And trying to understand that took a little while. And by the time I caught onto ICOs, they'd gone away and they were now STOs, which is security token offerings. By the time I got my head around that, DeFi had arrived and everyone was talking about yield farming and flash loans and this kind of thing. And I'm just about getting my head around that. And then NFTs kick in, you've got those. Now you've got all sorts of things happening. So I think that's the thing, that there is so much happening and there's more and more happening as well, which is why it's important to learn what you can, how you can. So,
yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, with that then, if nobody has got any other comments or questions, I'll probably wrap it up for today a minute or so early. Just say thank you everyone for coming along today and contributing. Been really interesting listening to different perspectives. I think in terms of coming back to what the market's doing and where it's going, well, as I said earlier on, it's going to do one of three things. It's either going to go up, down or sideways. As to where it goes, I really don't know. It is quite interesting that quite often Sunday evening, just after this session, is when there are some quite big moves in the crypto market. And I'd love to lay claim that it's because people have left this call and been inspired or something, but it isn't. But yeah, I think Bitcoin's, what is it, $21,000 at the moment? So keep an eye on it, because I have a feeling it's about to do something. And it's either going to fall off a cliff or it's going to start going up nicely. I just don't know which. So with that, I'll close it off to say thank you everyone for coming along today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some value or entertainment and enjoyment. I shall see you all again. Okay, I'll say goodbye to everyone else. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Gary.
Really appreciate it. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you very much.